Welcome all. Jay Smith here. Welcome to AGN Podcast with the Math Nut, and Andy is waiting. Hopefully you can hear me okay. Normally when it comes to the live streams, it does take YouTube a little while just to get everything synced up. Audio is not normally the best to start with, so that's why I'm padding a little bit to make sure YouTube's got as much time as possible to try and sort itself out. We have the chat going, so if anyone wants to write anything question-wise or comment, anything, pop it in the chat. Anything for afterwards, again, in the comment section, but I don't think the comment section will pop up until the video or the live is finished anyway. Ah, see, worked like a charm, preloading, no stuttering, morning, afternoon, good night, wherever you are in the world. But for Niels, it's firmly evening, 1 hour ahead, so 8 p.m. So welcome. So, right, before we start getting carried away talking about other stuff, let's go welcome Andy. Welcome, Andy.
I'm welcomed.
Very. As you can see on the right-hand side, on the, yes, the agenda, every week. It's the gift that keeps on giving. We have the topic of conversation like we normally do. So you can get involved, chat about, comment about any of the topics we're going to be talking about. And of course, if you do have anything that you want us to answer, stick it in the chat. And if I forget and I miss it, Andy's very good at reminding me when I do miss one or two. So we will try and get through every single person's. That's the plan. Whether it works
It's really
out.
easy so far.
Yeah. How's your week been, Andy? What have you been up to?
Oh, I finally got to hit some balls this week. After
Wow.
5 months hiatus.
How was it?
Started off a little bit scary, but came around in the end.
Yeah. Anything damaged?
Other than my pride, no.
Yeah. Well, I heard speed is at an all-time low.
Yeah, 5 months without swinging, I had lost about 3 miles an hour club speed. So
3. And so for any mere mortal, what is the average pitching wedge speed? Maybe 68, 70 max, probably on average. So yeah, you forgive me if I don't expect many people to jump on the chat and
condolences. My condolences
on that. Yeah. Sorry, mate. I feel so bad for you. Right. So we'll wait for people to jump on, but I will highlight the first topic if I can find it. That is the case. Here we go. Rightio. So Andy, did you watch the PGA Championship?
I saw clips. I didn't watch it live. Watching stuff live gives me more anxiety than when I'm playing.
I didn't watch it live as such. I kept abreast of what was going on certain things. Hi Carl, hope you're doing well, popping in the chat. I didn't watch it. I was more so interested in what was going on rather than who was scoring well and stuff like that. So there is a few different things to talk about, mainly from the PGA Championship. And it's not just on topic 2, Rory's driver being illegal, it's many other ones as well. But we will talk about that one in a little bit. Archer the Golfer says, can you help? Currently have MP225 irons and have got handicap down to 1. Nice. Now looking for something smaller and softer, won't lose distance. The 241 6-iron.
Yeah, I mean,
right.
225s are pretty soft. I mean,
yeah. They are one of, this is the thing, of the players' distance stroke hollow-bodied irons, they are one of, if not the softest out there. You're going to struggle to find anything better than that of those. Now, obviously, you have got the Limit 3D, Cobra Limit 3D, operate in a very similar bracket and feel really very, very good. I've got the 3DP, the I wouldn't say replacements, are they, Andy? They're not replacements to the Limit 3D. They're just more of a common production run version of the Limit 3D.
Yeah, they're just a new batch. It's like it's like they're making the same club for another year, just with slightly tweaks here and there. Obviously, whatever they learned during the Limit run, they said, okay, if we make this change, that'll make production easier and whatever, and that's what they did. So
yeah.
allows
So
them
where
to
the
throw out
500, was it a 500? One of 501, I think it was, wasn't it? The Limit 3D. Was it Limit 3? Hang on. Bear with. I can tell you how much it was because
You got a number on yours.
Well, you will not be able to see this.
No, I can't see that. Cat.
Oh, hang on. Can you see it now?
Can you see it now? 1 of 500. Number 1 of 500. Or do they all just say 1 of 500?
Yeah, they all say 1 of 500. So, but yeah, so the original Limit 3D was a very limited run, and with the 3DP, it is a much less of a limited run, but it still is effectively limited because they can't produce as much as they would do in a classic casting or forging process. This 3D printing malarkey is not the easiest thing, but they're getting better at it and they're getting faster at it, which is the most important thing. When it comes to your question of the 225s, yeah, you're going to struggle with that because the 225s, 245s, you're going to struggle.
I mean, I can't think of anything that isn't going to go down in distance. A little bit.
If you, if you're looking for a like for like, literally like for like, loft replaced exactly 30 degrees, that kind of idea. Ooh. A 2416 iron. That's the only thing you can do. I don't know of another player's distance iron which feels nicer. That's the problem. So we can't help on that.
I mean,
I haven't actually hit 3DPs yet.
I mean, the 245s are an upgrade over the 225s in general, but I mean, that's not much of a change to warrant it.
Feel-wise, there's no difference between the two. They're made very, very similar. The only difference really with the 245 over the 225 was an upgrade in tungsten. 26 grams to 47 grams or something. I can't remember. But anyway, an upgrade in tungsten. And remember, 6 months or so time is the new... Here's the new ones. Yeah, here's the new ones. So will the Mizuno S3 irons... I'm waiting for the rest of it.
Yeah, they're going to be shorter.
Very much so. You're looking at they are shorter. Obviously, they're 34 degree, no different to say the 241. Like for like, they are fractionally longer than 241, but it's like a yard or so. It's such a small amount, but yeah, the Pro S3s feel really very, very nice. I don't know if I'm allowed to say this. Hang on. No, I won't. Hang on a second. I just want to make sure that when I say what I'm going to say here, that I don't actually get myself in trouble. I'm just going to do a internet search because I want to say what I want to say, but I'm not necessarily certain if I can get away with it, because if it's in no way on the internet, I can't say it. And I'll have to wait for... No, I can be a little bit more vague. I'll be a bit more vague.
Yeah, you're looking 13 yards because of the loft difference. Even if you had the S3s too strong, it's 6 yards shorter.
Yeah. And then, not being funny, if you're going to run an S3 2 degrees strong, you might as well just have the 6 iron of the S3 anyway. And so, yeah. What I do like is with the 225, 245 is that you get the distance and flight and all of that you normally would, but you're dealing with a 7 iron shaft. So it's easier for you to control than it is going the 6 iron shaft and 5. The longer you have shaft wise, the further you are from the work, the harder it is to control. So that's what I do like about those. It allows you to have that speed, have that distance, have that peak heights and descent angles, etc. But with a 7 iron shaft, just so much easier to control. Tony says, how forgiving do you think the Srixon ZXi irons are for a 10 handicap?
Well,
Go on, Andy.
Handicap, they're more than forgiving enough. Say, the i5s are pretty much.
Hang on a minute. You answer it how you think I'm going to answer it.
I can answer it how you think I'm answering it for myself, and they're they're in the top tier of all irons, let alone the top tier for any handicap. I'm not gonna say that you don't fit for handicap, but I'm just saying that it's in the top tier for all irons.
So the only thing obviously so Tony's doing well at golf, but 10 handicap's a good handicap, and the problem is a handicap is a measure of score. And it's got absolutely nothing to do with what equipment you should use from a point of view of just handicap. How you should select equipment is based on 2 things: where you need the forgiveness and how you want the golf ball to launch. But effectively, or fly, or whatever you want it, what the trajectory of the golf ball. Because all different golf clubs will flight the golf ball with the exact same swing slightly differently. And obviously this is before we get into the conversation about different golf balls and stuff, but we're just looking at equipment. Well, the stuff that you swing, not the stuff that you hit. And for me, my first question for Tony, so it says, how forgiving do you think a Srixon ZXi 5 irons are for 10 handicap, would be, where is your miss hit? Let's do number 1, forgiveness. Where is your miss hit? If Tony turned around and said, fairly middle, but I have a tendency to hit it out the toe. Andy, what would we be saying about the Srixon ZXi 5 irons if we were to say that Tony has a distinct miss from the toe? As Andy rapidly logs onto the AskGolfNut.com website and checks all the heat maps and stuff.
No, I mean, yeah, the old Srixons were better off the toe than the newer ones. That's certain. But still, you'd have to be a long way off the toe for it to really notice.
Yeah, so if you look at the forgiveness on a ZXi 5, and this is by memory, so forgive me, I could be wrong on this one, but it does very well off heel, and it does pretty decent off low. But if you look at the advanced data, again from memory, I could be wrong, and Andy, you can tell me if I'm wrong on this one, because I have been wrong quite a few times in the past. Especially with numbers and stuff like that, because I can't really keep it in my head. But from memory, I think the ZXi 5 is the worst off the toe than it is anywhere else.
Oh, yes, definitely.
Cool. That's right. So my brain is at least in gear, hopefully. So I would say for Tony, if he was a toe striker, that there are other golf clubs out there that would work better for him. If he's low, if he's heel, as a miss, then it ticks that box. It ticks the forgiveness box. It's forgiving in the areas where he commonly hits. Happy days. Right, so next comes to the flight. Does it give you the flight that you want? And depending on how you deliver a golf club, what speed you have, what angle attack, if you de-loft or you add loft or whatever it would be, you will produce a certain pattern of trajectory that might be too high, that might be too low. And that's why you have different golf clubs that launch the golf ball different amounts, spin the golf ball different amounts, have different tendencies of face speed, etc. And that's why we have the self-fit tool, so people can then personalize, customize their own delivery within that tool so they can find the perfect irons for them. There you go. So I can't answer the other ones for you, Tony, on that one when it comes to flight. You'll have to go to the self-fit tool on www.askgolfnut.com for that one. Again, the whole idea of the self-fit tools and all of the functions on askgolfnut.com is and has been designed for golfers that are looking to buy new irons, looking to compare new irons or compare whatever they've got to old irons, etc., to see what the benefits are properly, of a tangible benefit at least, in changing their irons. If not, you're going to go completely, a lot of times people can't test irons and they just buy them on test. We'll just buy them, and if they don't work, then we'll just sell them. Of course, there is always a, you don't sell them for as much as you buy them for. You're always losing money, and of course, you're always just hunting. So the whole idea of AskGolfNut.com was to allow you to fit yourself, or at least give you a very, very good understanding of what will work and what won't work, as long as you know certain attributes of your game. So the interesting thing with the PGA Championship, by the way, well done to Sky. I think it was a foregone conclusion that he was going to win, within reason. He was quite far ahead. Was he 5 in the end? Did he win by 5? I think he did.
That's how much he started the day by too, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it's one of them. So he done well. Well done. I think the interesting one, let's just pick on topic 2 very quickly. Alex just popped in, like I can just see there. What does Alex say, Andy?
Can we see more forgiving clubs tested in retro loft? I mean, the only one that makes it in retro loft is Ping, so.
I was about to say, so Alex, you'll have to either, I'm not understanding the question correctly, and Andy, you can help me out on this one if you do. I don't completely understand the point. I understand what you're saying.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, they're saying, can we have more clubs tested at the higher lofts? But that doesn't really. I mean, you can calculate what happens at higher loft without ever having to actually test them. It's just
well, that's
they
what
don't change. They don't change their. They don't change their forgiveness. Yeah, if you check in the new update to the website, you can add 2 degrees of loft to every club to see what it will do. Additionally, 2 degrees. I didn't go to 3 or 4 degrees, because if you go to 3 degrees, that's the same as going a club up and going -1. So 2 degrees is all you have to go.
Yep, it's an interesting thing. I mean, I mean, retro lofts, especially if you've got a slow swing speed. If you're looking for every single help and in trying to get the golf ball going, then yeah, adding loft will help. But then that's no different from going from your 7 iron to your 8 iron. Your 7 iron at slow swing speed won't be as functional as what your 8 iron will be. But again, it's that classic thing of, if you test it in its static, normal, standard form, that will have a launch factor. That golf club will have a propensity to want to launch that golf ball at a certain amount, whatever you deliver in loft wise. It will want to transfer a certain amount of that loft that you deliver into launch, and effectively that's CG placement of the head. But if you then add loft, yes, it will launch higher, but it won't launch any higher than the same amount as a calculation between that and the standard loft. It's an interesting one. I personally don't see the point, but then again, if you do need to, that's what the self-fit tool now does. You can adjust. If you want to blend 2 sets of irons, say like the 241 or 245, going back to what we were talking about with Archer the golfer, is that you can weaken one set, strengthen the other set, get them exactly like for like lofted, especially if you've got a 1 club difference in loft, and then see how they work. But the launch factor itself won't change.
Yeah, and modern lofts, modern irons launch about 10% higher than irons from about 10+ years ago when retro lofts were things. So that 10% at 20, is 2.5 degrees at 25 degrees different lofts. So your average 7 iron launches 2 degrees higher now than it did 10, 15 years ago. So,
which is crazy.
Yeah, so you don't need 36 degrees of loft. The modern 34 is a 36. A modern 32 is a 34. So and so on and so forth. So
yeah, there you go. So let's talk about Rory's driver, and it's not just Rory's driver. Although Rory got all of the bad press, shall we say? Scotty Scheffler's driver also was illegal. It's just that there is quite a few drivers that are tested, not enough, possibly, and that's a completely different argument, and we could probably have that discussion if you want to. But my feeling on that is, I'm not, apart from Rory hating, I don't understand why it was massively newsworthy to say Rory's driver was illegal and Rory's using an illegal driver. Well, when Scotty was also using an illegal driver, obviously
He's been praised
out.
all weekend. Yeah,
and but then
yeah. And you got to understand what the nuance of illegal is in this terminology. Like, the test is not the most precise test ever done on the planet in the first place.
No.
It's not done in like lab conditions. It's done on site in a trailer that has fluctuating ambient temperature, and that just the fluctuation of temperature of 5 degrees would theoretically push a club from under the limit to over the limit. Yeah, and then failing isn't something new. I mean, you get a new driver, it's tested, it passes. 6 months later, it could fail.
Yep.
So what are you supposed to do other than have them tested? And that's
and
exactly what happened.
This is the whole classic thing of if you were to, there's been a case in the past that I have witnessed just when I was coaching custom fitting, was that you would get an individual that came in for a new driver, whatever it would be, and they hit their driver well. I mean, they're a decent handicap, they're a decent striker of the golf ball, they've got a golf club which is quite some time ago old. However, it was at the point of where everything was running to the 0.83, where we're talking like that level, and we've been at that level for quite some time. And you measure that golf club and you're getting efficiencies like you think, you really don't want to be getting rid of this thing because they have hit it that many times. It's getting older, and of course golf clubs, they do change characteristics as they age, and drivers commonly get faster because they're being hit from the same bit, flexing constantly and flexing more, and they can get faster and faster and faster. Now, of course, these guys on tour, when they're checked, they're probably not checked enough, and they need to update the testing method, absolutely. But I am of the opinion, and I heard Scotty Scheffler's words on this, and I agree with him, that I feel at least the onus should be on the golfer in question to police him herself. So there's plenty
It's just
of
like
opportunities
anything in
on
golf.
tour.
Golf's always been a sport of self-regulation.
Yes,
You know?
I agree, because now we've got the governing body choosing to regulate and choosing to police this. One, there's not enough policing of it. They're only testing X percentage of the field every week, and you could go quite some time without actually getting tested. It's luck of the draw.
All
They're
season.
not actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're not. It's not like da 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 da. It's not. It's like this, and matey boy in the middle hasn't been touched yet. So, and let's also cover the latter one when it comes to the Rory thing. Is that there was a lot of hate saying about Rory's driver's illegal. That means he's hitting the golf ball way too fast. The golf ball's going way too far. People really don't understand the difference between the tolerance of being just in, the tolerance of being just over, and the amount of ball speed difference between those two very finite small amounts does not make 38 yards in the air. It makes 0.8 of a yard in the air. It's so small.
If that.
It is so small. It is. You could argue, yes, okay, fair enough. Let's get down to the pedantic nature of it. But if you had a situation like, was it Shane Lowry had when he was hitting his ball in from that divot or pitch mark in the fairway? Did you see that?
Yep.
Where, yeah. that if you'd have hit his golf ball slightly further and stuff like that, if you roll into pitch marks, if you actually hit a specifically soft part of the ground and you get plugged and all this lot, would it have happened if you had your 0.8 of a yard longer or 0.8 of a mile an hour faster? Well, probably no. You would have hit somewhere different. But that's
could have been
not
just
to
as
say
bad a
that
result.
yes, it's not to say that you're looking at a certain situation which is extremely unlucky from his point of view, that the balance of probability would have stayed, yeah, if he had have hit it slightly differently in a bit of a different area, it would have been better. But then commonly on the other ones, it could easily be, and that's the thing with golf, it's like this. So I am not really too, it doesn't bother me in the slightest about the driver being illegal, because the gain would have been so ridiculously minute. I won't say it's not measurable, because it is measurable, but it's not.
This is something that happens all the time. It's just now it was blown up into a front page, line article, but this happens all the time. They get tested all the time, and they fail, and that's how things happen.
Well, wasn't it a year old?
You don't know it's going to fail until you test it, and then how do you know? He didn't know that it was going to fail. It's not like they designed it specifically hot. It's not like it came out of the factory specifically hot.
And this is the thing, I think if the players were now tasked with regulating themselves, or policing themselves at least, then they would make much more of an effort, because they work directly with the tour trucks. Let's be absolutely honest. You do get the odd PGA Tour person which is literally just come through Q School and all different levels, gets there, they haven't got the massive connections with, say, TaylorMade, or, I mean, like Rory is minted, he's got contracts galore, red carpet comes out the tour truck when Rory gets on and off, and other players may not necessarily have that, but they have got, I don't know of any PGA Tour player that would struggle to walk on any van as such and struggle to be able to test their driver if needed. There's no PGA Tour player playing equipment out the back of his garage kind of idea. They're all got certain amount of contractual agreements, so they could police themselves quite easily. Now, okay, lower tiers of tour, it's going to be more difficult. Yes, it is, but I think at the Premier, this is what they say the PGA is, at the top division, I think if you put it in the onus of the player, we would get rid of this, oh, it's legal, because they'd know. Then they know when it would be getting close, and of course, as soon as it does get close, they'd just swap it out.
And it's just a speed variable too. It's not even an accuracy or anything like that. Yeah. It's not like he suddenly was hitting fairways with it because it was illegal. The ball would have been within a step of where it would have been no matter what happened. So he was missing fairways with his new driver because it was a new driver that he wasn't used to.
Yes,
that's what we've seen the effects of that not long ago in that video where they swapped drivers, and how this is a tall level driver but for somebody else, and you try to swing it and it goes off into nowhere.
And from the information that we're doing, at least with the advanced data for the drivers and what is to come with drivers on the advanced data, you can make a golf club, you can make a driver literally identical, same head weight, same shaft, same swing weight, same everything, same grip. That you can make it literally identical to the gram. However, there's always going to be minute changes or differences in the shaft. Whether that's good enough or not to pick up is one thing, but it's the head. The head will always have tolerance. There'll be a small amount of CG difference in the head. The head, even though it's identical to the previous one, won't be identical. It's identical as they can get it. But when you're talking about an individual who's swinging at, 123, Rory, 124, something like that, relatively fast, any tiny deviation in difference will, relative to the guy who swings at 85 miles an hour, be magnified. And when you're talking about the tour being, the fairways is narrow and the rough as thick as it is, any tiny deviation of where you're expecting, you're going to see a let's say, not the most accurate shot. Golf is hard. Very hard for a reason. I did see, was it 1 degree out at 300 yards when the face is out by 1 degree and you've got 0 path and the face open by 1. It's not just the fact that the ball will start out 1 or so, or nearly 1 degree off of target. It's the tilt axis that also is applied because you now got a face open to a path, and the curvature. So you've got a start offline and curvature offline as well. And when you're looking at the distances that you are going to hit offline from 1 degree, and that's not taking into account the sensitivity of the driver. Some drivers are very, very, very sensitive and very prone to tilt axis. I go back to my PXG visit when I got my fitted media samples for the videos that I did. And there is a reason why I didn't do the Tour driver, because that Tour driver is so ridiculously sensitive. They have made a golf club there for about 0.3% of the population, not even that. It's ridiculous. I still can remember my club path was, I think it was something like 1 degree from the inside, it was 0.8 from the inside, and my face was open by 1. Now, Andy, how far should that go right? Club path 0.8 from the inside, face open by 1. Fairly middle hit.
Total carry, right?
No, total offline. And I'm hitting this 280, 290 yards.
1 degree open?
1 degree open to a path 0.8 from the inside.
That's
so
like
that's a fraction of a
3 to 4 degree tilt axis over 280, I don't know, like 10, 12 yards?
56 yards right.
Yeah.
Very sensitive, right? So we are dealing with tiny margins at speed, and obviously Rory hits it further than I am. So yeah, the whole idea from the whole fairways thing, yeah, I mean, he's just using a different driver. I mean, it's, yeah, takes some time to get used to. Have we been missing any kind of chats? Alex says, I think everyone assumes Rory used the exact head for the Masters. Yes, that's a good point. I mean, that would mean he was half a yard further off down the fairway.
He might not have been. The driver could have been perfectly legal on the Masters, and then he come to be tested the next day, and then it failed.
It's true. I mean, we are talking about he could have took the test on the Masters Sunday, and his driver was bang on the number, as in bang on the number. And throughout the round, it could have, again, if he's on the number, 0.00 whatever, and yeah, so, but it's so there's, generally speaking, the Tour drivers are not the quick drivers. When it comes to manufacturers, and this is quite a funny thing, when it comes to manufacturers, commonly the fast heads are the media heads. So you've got 3 different types of heads. You'll have the Tour head, you'll have the public head, the account heads, and you have the media heads. If you, from a manufacturer's point of view, if you know you have got some drivers which are fairly hot, give them to the media. They're the ones that are going to be publicly saying how good a golf club is based on how far it goes. And of course, that's the whole idea of it. Give it to the media, they'll go further. Tour guys, they are dealing with the slower heads. The Tour do not want, even the retail heads, which some they can be illegal. The tolerance, we're talking tolerance is so close to the number, you have a little variation in how they're manufactured, and you'll get some which are absolutely fine, some that are right on the nose, and some which are slightly over. But it's a retail head. No one's going to get their driver tested at the local Stapleford event, whatever golf club they're not going to. When it comes to Tour guys, generally speaking, they are the slower heads. They only go illegal because these guys hit them from the same spot over and over and over and over to effectively make them more pliable. But that's all it is. That's all it is. But there you go. So, going on to the same thing, and it is something that I really would like to talk about, because it bugs me, this one, and going back to Shane Lowry's lie. What is, Andy, what's your view on poor lies in the fairways, rolling into someone else's divot, that kind of mud ball, that kind of thing?
I mean, in his particular case, if he rolled into somebody else's pitch mark, then that should be a non-conforming error in the course, right? That's something that's happened to the course outside of his control, because the guy who created the pitch mark, that pitch mark wasn't there before he did it, and therefore he wasn't subject to the same problem. But
Yep.
so from my point of view, if you want it to be fair, then it has to be equal, and that means that pitch mark wasn't equal for all players, and therefore there's something should have been done about it. But
I agree. I am one of these people that there is a huge thing of, okay, you play the golf course as it is and stuff like that. Yeah. I don't believe necessarily in. Oh, was it Liam Neeson? Was that Leslie? What was it? Leslie Nielsen. Bad Golf Made Easier. Did you ever watch that?
no.
Oh no. Okay. If you want a bit of fun, Bad Golf Made Easier. Search for it. You can find it on YouTube. You'll be able to find little bits and pieces. It's hilarious. Anyway, he basically he took the place of a course pro. And rather than making people better, he basically told them how to cheat properly to make their game better. And one of the funniest things was the pummel, not the waggle, and the downward press when the guy was in the rough. And rather than sort of like hacking out with a wedge or something like that, he got his 3-wood. And then he was doing like the pummel, not the waggle, and the downward press was basically him going round the actual where the ball was. And by the time he'd finished, it panned to the ball, and the ball is sitting on this little mound of perfectly formed grass, like a tee. But taking like the jest out of it, it has to be fair. And I'm not a believer at all in you hitting a very good tee shot straight down the middle. And you should not be penalised because of something out of your control. Not in that sense. Not something what you quite rightly, Andy, you've said that if the course was set up like that, if the course had a stream going through it, it had a pathway going through it, had all these different things, had a wall, 3-foot wall goes across there. You know if you're going to run into that, you're going to get too close to it, you can't get over it. Everyone has got that problem. The fact that someone could do something which then would negatively affect the groups behind could in some way be misconstrued as players affecting other players' scores, which you can't do. And so I didn't agree with it. I think you should, mud balls, we don't necessarily get that in the UK that much, but should have been lift, clean and sheet on that. And I think anytime you're hitting in the fairway and you roll into someone else's divot should be nearest point of relief. Not everyone is going to agree.
Yeah. It's one of those things, what's the rule? I think the case is the rule, that's the rule, then that's what you live by. But that shouldn't be, the argument is that shouldn't be the rule.
Yeah.
Whatever the rule is when you start the tournament, that's the rule that you have to follow. But in terms of longevity, then that shouldn't be the rule.
I agree. I like rules that allow golf to be played in its purest form, as in it's got to be its fairest form. And everyone should, playing from the fairway, have the same condition. It's only fair that everyone has the same bite of the cherry. And when you have a situation such as that dramatically, it wasn't just the tiniest of small little bits, it was a dramatic difference. That situation there, he would have been far better off 10 yards to the right-hand side in the rough than where he was in the situation that he had. And you can't play golf I don't believe you can't play a major tournament, as far as I believe it and concerned, where you've got a situation where a player would have a better go at it from the rough than they would do the fairway. Yeah, just bugs me. Just bugs me. Just bugs me. The RSPCA, no, as yet, no question about the cap. Mr. -10 angle attack here, Andy knows. Had my iron fit ended up in ZXi7 from 923 Hot Metal Pro. Tried my hardest to stay in Mizuno. Sorry to betray you all. Absolutely fine. You go with whatever works. Doesn't matter. The most important thing is whatever you get works for you. The forgiveness works for you. The launch and the trajectory works for your game. You're happy. You like the feel of it. Wonderful. That's it. Doesn't matter what manufacturer you have. Doesn't matter what model you have. If you've got all of those, winner. Simples on that one. And thanks for subscribing, Connor Volker. There you go. Stream Elements, putting a little bit there. Felix says, I think Scotty argued that it was the wear down because his head has been played for some time. Yes, that's basically what happens with the head's being hit the same spot every single time. It keeps on flexing, keeps on flexing, keeps on flexing. And before you know it, it becomes illegal.
It'd be funny to actually go out and test people, like all the people who complaining that, you know, he was cheating and that, like test their drivers and see where theirs come out at. And then they all find out theirs failed too because they've been playing them for 5 years. Yeah.
I would, you are absolutely now okay. Most golfers don't have the accuracy that, say, Scotty Scheffler will do with his strike position. But you are right. A lot of old drivers that have been played in average, normal golfers, amateurs bags for I don't know how many years, a good portion of those will actually be illegal.
I'm pretty sure my old set of irons, some of them feel like they're a little hot than when they should have been.
I can remember, can you remember the R7 quad? TaylorMade R7 quad?
Don't think so.
No, so it was something like, it was a 410cc or something like that. It was back in the day. It was back in the day when it was just about to go, like you had to have this 0.83, the face speed couldn't be this and stuff. But you were still allowed to sell them up until a certain point. So it had R7 was the standard one on the face. It had stamped on the face, top. Was it on the, I think it was on the toe. I think it was on the toe. Anyway, and then you had the R7 Plus. And the R7 Plus was purposely made illegal. And yeah. Now, I'll be honest, I didn't really notice any or very, very little difference between the two.
There isn't any. The material, the 0.83 is almost at, the reason they came up with the 0.83 in the first place is because that was almost at the level of material science was at anyway. And we haven't really surpassed that by any much. It's already, yeah, the COR of 0.83 is already super, super high up there. There's not many materials that can beat it. And it's more about stopping them using the super rare, expensive materials than it is, you know, that you can actually make a steel driver or steel face that actually goes that much faster.
It's like the classic budget cap in F1. A similar thing when it comes to golf. But keeping the manufacturers somewhat under control of spending and using exotic materials. Although, if you look at the prices of equipment over the last sort of 4 to 5 years, yeah, it hasn't stopped them getting ridiculously expensive.
Well, I think they're just increasing the price without actually increasing the technology, though, but that's something else.
You wouldn't necessarily be wrong. There was the problem is because the equipment manufacturers are not all, it's not all in cahoots. It's not like the fact they all sit around a big round table and go, right guys, let's all stick up prices by 22%, but let's all do it. No, they're not like that. But I mean, effectively, you've got many different reasons over the past, I don't know how long, when it comes to the inflationary problem over the whole world really. And since COVID and all that lot with supply issues, and that started the ball rolling on that one, it then never stopped. And remember what happens with inflation. People talk about how bad 10% inflation, 12% inflation is, whatever the number is. And 2 years down the line, after they've had 2 years worth of 5, 6, 8, 12, whatever percent inflation, inflation suddenly drops down to 1%. And everyone is literally singing from the rooftops the fact that inflation is now back down again, prices are much more controlled. They've completely forgot of the fact that, yes, inflation is now only 1%, but the price you're still paying is already 20-something% more inflated than it was. All that 1% means is not going up as much as it was, but it's still higher. We haven't had deflation, it's still inflated. So yeah, that one always got me on that one. So yeah, prices of things are getting quite expensive. So we'll see what happens. I am really looking forward to one thing, and I haven't had a conversation, an in-depth conversation with anyone that I can really talk to about this because of the Mizuno ST230 Max experiment that Mizuno were doing this year. They obviously put that driver out at $300. Is that still at $300, Andy?
Who something?
Mizuno ST230 Max.
Yeah, it's 260. 260
really?
last time. I think so.
So 200, is that fitted?
I mean, it's custom ordered. You can custom order it for that. So.
Sugar stumps. Wow. Okay. So $260, custom fitted. That's crazy considering it is one of the most forgiving drivers on the planet. And it's at $260, literally half the price of what the major manufacturers' standard models come. So that was the experiment in 2025, putting everything, and their fairways and hybrids were also equally low priced as well, because Mizuno are doing a test in 2025 to find out, is it price, which is the reason why golfers don't test and then purchase Mizuno drivers. They've tried incentivizing the accounts to try and make them want to sell more by making the margins better. That didn't work. So now they're saying, right, they should drop the price completely, right down to something like 260. That's crazy. And if it doesn't work, then they know that price is not a factor in people's buying decisions, which is obviously bad for you guys, because that means if you're thinking about buying drivers, all the other manufacturers will go, right, great, well, obviously price is not a problem. We'll continue the way things will go. I'm fingers crossing and toes that they basically do so well on their percentage of the market, that the fact that they start thinking about, oh, next year, 2026, when their new driver comes out, it won't be 500 quid. It will be $400, $350, something like that. That would be lovely if that was the case. Right. Anything, before I start talking about my specifications of the Titleist irons that are on the way, is there anything that you would like to add, Andy, talk about before we start prattling on about specs?
Specs? Oh, the Titleist specs? No. No. My rants are too long. When we've already an hour in, and can't rant for an hour about freaking tilt axis.
You can't do the truncated? No.
Short version?
Yeah.
All right. Okay. Like. All right. So here we go. All right. There's a golf ball. Right?
Oh, we have a ball. Hang on.
All right. I'm gonna spin it. Right?
Snap.
All right. Spinning it. Which way's the camera faces, so I can do this better at the camera, right? So if I'm spinning this like this, right? What direction is that spinning?
Either backspin or forward spin, depending on which orientation you're looking at.
Yeah, so like from your point of view, it's spinning towards you, which would mean that it's
backspin.
Yeah, from my point of view, it's spinning away from me, so that's topspin. Yeah. And it's the same thing with side spin, or lack of tilt axis along this direction, or tilt axis along this direction. The frame of reference is just as important to deciding the spin direction than anything else. The ball has no tilt axis. The ball never has a tilt axis because local to the ball, it's just spinning around its own axis.
Yep.
It's only the point of measurement from external sources that determine tilt axis and the direction it travels with. So,
are we having a conversation about time and stuff like that soon? Are we going to get into
general relativity? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just that there've been a lot of people have been fighting me lately over the overhaul of spin axis and how the ball has backspin, side spin. Even saying that it has side spin,
does not have side spin.
It doesn't have side spin, but even saying that the tilt axis makes it proportional of side spin, no, that is also not true because the ball doesn't have any spin axis at all. It's the relative to the observer that determines its spin axis. So the physics of the ball isn't relative to the physics of the world. Anyway, I got a big rant about it, but spin does not work the way people think it does.
No. So my personal thing, and I don't proclaim to be any science professor at all, but I have worked fairly in depth with launch monitor manufacturers over the years and how they determine and understand certain metrics and parameters within golf ball flight. And it is true, absolutely, that a golf ball never has side spin. So people would see that as backspin or that as backspin, depending on obviously which way you're looking at it. Yeah, we never have this. The golf ball never does this, ever. Yeah, it only ever does that. Spins on its axis. So I'm doing it so as you can see one color, but effectively it does that. And in the easiest turn to understand, what you're seeing is backspin, but on a tilt axis. So the ball is spinning like that, which then creates the flight and creates curve. But the ball at no point ever has side spin. It is only ever backspin, but on a tilt axis.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the argument that I get down is that if you spin the ball more, the more you spin the ball, the less tilt axis you have, so you hit it straighter. But that's not
well.
No, because that's how you break down. If you want to break down the component of side spin to the ball, it's the tilt axis times the revolutions, and that can give you a pseudo amount of lateral spin or deviation from the vertical. But the trouble is, the ball has no, relative to the ball, there is no tilt axis. The ball spins around the axis that it was given by the club. And it doesn't matter whether you spin that at 6,000 RPM or 2,000 RPM, the tilt axis would have been the same. So if balls that spin more, clubs that spin more, aren't more accurate.
No. The only difference I would say, more so than everything, would be the club with more loft would be more accurate because the D plane would be smaller. But that is it.
Yeah. But yeah, the amount of spin a ball, if you could spin this ball at 10,000 RPM and leave the face open 5 degrees, you get the same tilt axis as you would. And now, because you've got the same tilt axis at 10,000 RPM, it's actually going to curve more. So, no.
Yeah, we could quite easily talk about spin generation, tilt axis generation, and all this lot for quite more time than we have, because it is something that people really need to get through their heads. Andy and I see things differently at times. We don't necessarily see the same thing from the same direction. Andy sees it much more as a physics, math, or maths for the English, and that kind of thing. This is a problem, this is how we fix it, or whatever it be. I do the most of my understanding of how actually physics works and how stuff happens by how stuff happens. I'm experienced. I am yes, I'm measuring with quad and I'm seeing certain things, and so I'm taking real world and numbers and then creating what I see as the understandable physics from that. I do not like side spin, hate it, don't look at side spin ever. All I care about is backspin on a tilt axis, and that is effectively, for me, the curvature of the golf ball. Yeah, so that's all I care about. Anyone who then starts thinking about side spin, anything to do with side spin, when a golf ball never actually goes sideways, there's nothing there. All it is that backspin, which is going to be there, but what tilt axis that golf ball is on. And that ball is not going sideways, it's only rotating same direction, it's just tilted, that's it.
Yeah. And the other thing that like gets me is like, so if I get this ball and I spin it on my table, it doesn't matter which direction I spin it in, it's going to spin on the spot for the most part, unless your desk is all wonky and stuff. It will spin on the spot, just like a spinning top. It'll spin on the spot. Doesn't matter whether you spin it clockwise or counterclockwise. It doesn't start turning in one direction or the other. It will spin on the spot. And that's what a ball wants to do. The only reason a ball has any air curvature in the air is because of the direction of the wind or the speed that's going across the ball, then makes it curve. So the whole concept that, you know, spin creates accuracy and all this, like, it's just backwards. It's backwards understanding of what's going on.
Only the difference between D-plane will make a bigger difference to tilt axis or not.
Yeah.
But then D-plane, mate, is a completely different topic, and we'll have to save that one for another day. So, Titleist irons, Titleist irons. My favourite company, Titleist. Love them. The most professional company in the world. Well, they probably are in a lot of aspects, but in raw communication to people asking honest, normal questions, they are absolutely shocking. So, the situation, did we discuss this last week, Andy? Did we discuss it last week?
Oh.
I can't remember.
On the live?
Yeah.
No.
Okay. So, for people that don't know, obviously, Titleist are the only brand that I have, with irons-wise, because we've got their drivers and stuff, yes, but irons-wise, I haven't got anything and haven't had anything ever. I've never tested a Titleist iron on camera. I've hit Titleist irons before, yeah, but nothing enough to be able to do a physical proper review. And because I don't really like doing reviews unless I've got a brand new sample, because it's not fair on the manufacturer, because there's plenty of irons out there. But because of certain situations and dinks and all that, whatever it would be, and if there was ever a situation where I'm using a second-hand head and the head is just rubbish, it's not necessarily fair for me to say that that golf club is crap because of this, if effectively it's been injured a few times along the way. So I really only like using brand new samples because that's the only fair thing to do. So I've never had anything for Titleist on my channel ever, irons wise. So going forward, and with the YouTube channel growing, and I think especially now with the website and the website database growing, it's important that I feel that the channel and the website is represented as fairly and as transparently as possible. Now, I have tried and I've tried and I've tried, I don't know how many times, to get hold of Titleist to have a conversation with them, have a discussion with them about me joining their ranks as media partner. They have continued to basically ignore every single attempt I have had at trying to get hold of them. I have had even subscribers try to do the same thing, and again, same level of communication, as in none. So the decision was made that even though with Titleist releasing their new batch of irons come August, I am personally buying every single 7-iron with the exception of their MB. So it will be their T range all the way from T100 to their battering ram T series. And I would also be purchasing the 620 CB, because we know how the CBs do when it comes to forgiveness. So I think it's well worth doing that one. So, and yes, I'm going to have to go through the whole procedure again in, say, September, when they're released to the public, of buying all the brand new ones. But I think it's important because not only do we have the Titleist on there of old, we'll also be able to compare them to new. And Titleists are pretty good in that sense. I mean, how long has the 620 CB been out for, Andy? 5 years or so?
What, 20 years?
It's been a while. Every single head that you'll get from Titleist got rust on.
They might have changed the name of it in whenever 2020, but it's basically the same iron. It's been around forever.
Exactly, and no different than the T-Series. T-Series have been a good couple of year life cycle. So I like the fact that Titleist aren't shoving new equipment down people's throats every 2 minutes. I like that. I do. I'm quite a fan of that. But still, so I have reached out to an account to basically order me 6 7-irons at a pricey sum of however much it will be. I'll find out later, but it's not necessarily cheap. And I do want to take this opportunity, I do, before we go off on another tangent, talk about chat questions or anything else like that, is I want to say thank you to every single person that has very, very kindly donated any sum of money whatsoever to the Titleist Fund. It kind of warms my cockles to see people support the channel, support me in this financial endeavor, because it's not cheap. People will know how much stuff costs. And if the videos that I make with these at the end of everything basically make up the money it costs to buy them, I am satisfied, because not only for the content that it will allow my channel to be as transparent and as inclusive as possible, it will also give you guys, the ones that subscribe to the website, every single manufacturer's information, all their clubs. So it's not now an every person bar Titleist website, it will be everybody included. So I thought it was important I get the old irons as well as the new, so we've got those two to compare. But that's the irons Titleist idea. We'll talk about it into the specs in a sec, but that's the plan, Andy.
Yeah.
Expensive.
Might even get tested on the robot.
Well, the last update I had from Chinaland was that it had been shipped from the manufacturer. I have physically asked the wholesaler or whoever they are to test the motor. Physically test it to be the motor that I require, not the motor that they sent, which was way under power for what I actually purchased on that one. They said they will, and as yet I haven't heard any update back. But I will keep everyone updated as I possibly can do. And then also, when it comes to the website, www.askgolfnut.com, there is a news and update section on there, which I try as best I can do to keep updates with all of the information going on in the background and stuff like that. So yeah, there we go. So hopefully that will be here soon, 2-3 weeks. And we do a little bit of shoring up of the frameworks, etc. Try and keep it a little bit more like that. Bolt it to the floor, that kind of idea, and then see what we can get. That's the plan. We'll see what we do. But yeah, so the Titleist irons are coming. We've got all of the range. So we've got 6 irons in total, 6 7-irons in total. I've kept them standard lie, standard loft, haven't tweaked anything whatsoever, so they should come as specs. The reason why I've gone standard lie, even though I'm more upright, is because Titleist operate, which is a really interesting thing, and I don't understand why this. They are one of the most upright manufacturers per standard length that I know. And it's a really interesting thing. I didn't know that. Did you, Andy?
Maybe taller people play Titleist.
Possibly. So I've got, I think it was at 63 degrees as a standard lie angle for their 7-iron. Yeah, something like that. So within reason, I'm half a degree or so, maybe a degree out. And I'm not going to mess around with trying to bend lie angles by 1 degree and stuff like that. It's absolutely fine. No problem whatsoever. So I've got standard lie, standard loft, KBS Tour stiff 120 standard length on all of the irons, all of them, all the way from the battering ram all the way down to the near on blade. So keeping everything exactly the same grip, same boring Golf Pride Tour Velvet, that kind of thing. Just nice and boring. So they're, even if the people that haven't watched me for quite some time and know the fact that shaft doesn't really bother me in the slightest, it will stop the old keyboard warriors.
You need to play a graphite shaft.
Oh, you should have used something like this. And I just clicked something. Little window just popped up on my screen. But yeah, so it will stop people doing that. Hopefully, fingers crossed. But there you go. Right. What have we got, Andy? Have we got any action in anything else? Do we need to... No, we don't. Are we going to have an early bath? Not we. That's going to be... That's tricky. But have you not? Do we not have the same phrase in the US? No.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. It sounds just you're freaking me out, man.
Yeah, it's all right. Have an early bath, as in a case of everything's done and it's now just over the hour. Happy days. I will give everyone.
People are waiting for questions.
Well, more. Oh. Right, just do me a favour. I've just seen a notification that's popped up on my phone, and my phone goes off a lot. It's on silent, and it's on silent a lot as well. So I apologise to anyone that tries to call me, message me, and stuff like that. I don't see it because it's always on silent. I can't remember. I won't say his name, but someone is struggling with flyers. He wants a golf club to be more consistent because he's struggling with flyers. Do you want to take this one, bud?
Pretty much every heat map we've ever built was designed specifically to show which clubs have flyers. If it's got a little green blob in the middle, it's going to have flyers. Because everywhere else is going to be significantly slower, except for that one little spot in the middle. So if it's got a big green blob, no flyers. Little bitty green blob, lots of flyers.
And they're relative flyers because golfers do not know where they hit the golf club. They don't. I have done up-teen tests over the years and to showcase actually how poor normal, average, regular golfers are at even understanding where on the club face they are hitting the golf ball. They have to hit quite considerably some really weird and wacko part of a face before they actively understand where it is on the club. And even then, sometimes they still get it wrong. So when the flyers thing conversation starts, commonly it's because of the fact that they're using a golf club which is not necessarily the most consistent. We call it forgiveness, but effectively we should call it consistency, distance consistency, or whatever we want to call it, yeah? But we'll call it forgiveness because the golfing gods have decreed that the marketing term is forgiveness, forgiveness, forgiveness. So we'll keep using the word forgiveness. But if it's got a really tiny green blob and you're hitting it in and around, never in the middle, because you don't remember, most golfers don't know where the middle is. And then they suddenly hit one out of the screws and it f***s off 8 yards, 10 yards longer than it should do. That's not a flyer, that's the middle. And where you normally hit it, you're hitting your 7-iron 160 yards, and the fact that you hit your normal one 160, but then this flyer goes 170 or 168 or whatever it is, and you're going for the ball, going for the flag at the back of the green, and your ball just literally straight over the top of it, 8 yards or so too far. You hit your golf shots around the face, and you've got a 4 or 5% drop off all around that green blob. Then you hit one down the middle and it just goes the distance it should do. Just you're so used to miss hitting it so much that one out of the, and that's where the flyer comes. Yeah. It's surprising how little flyers happen on irons which are extremely consistent. That's all I'll say. There you go. So, Simon, that was for you. I won't say your last name. That was for you. Right. So Neil's saying ball consistency could impact it much more if it's poor in terms of ball speed. I would love to dump the word forgiveness. I don't like it. There's many things in the world of golf that is quite poorly named. Flyers being one of them. But again, this thing's banded around. You will never get rid of it because it is pushed and pushed by online publications, TV, media in general, manufacturers, custom fitters, coaches. Heck, when I was at the Bury Golf Range before doing YouTube full time, and I was doing coaching, custom fitting, and then of course doing YouTube part time before doing this, and we had a coach there. I love him to pieces. I really do. He's a lovely, lovely guy, but he was still teaching old ball flight law. Still. Even though it was proved, obviously for quite some time now, that it's wrong. And it's not just wrong, it's literally upside down wrong. But he was still teaching it. There's so much information out there which is pushed for a certain narrative, and most of the time that narrative is sales. It's to get you believing a certain type of thing, regardless of what it is. There's a reason why manufacturers make so many models of iron. It's not because that's how many they really need to make. It's to give the golfers, the people that really feel the upgrade path, to give them another reason to buy a next one, and then the next one, and then the next one. We never used to have that choice before. We used to be able to go from game improvement irons and then go within a very small amount all the way to blades. I'm not saying people need to be aiming for blades as their final irons. What I'm saying is there isn't necessarily this requirement to have so many micro steps, but things from a marketing point of view, there is. And so we're always dealing with the difference between reality and marketing. There you go. That's a small rant over anyway. I don't rant as much, I must admit. Andy, you do calm my rants. I can remember back in the day when I used to be here on my own, and then someone used to say something, and then they used to go off on one. Do like the occasional rant. Right.
Yeah, it's
so very quickly, have we got any updates whatsoever that we can share with everyone about the website, or are they as yet still under wraps?
Yeah, I mean, we're still waiting for the robot to do the advanced driver data Mach 2. Yeah, that other idea is still too far into concept to discuss. What else do we got? You're on Compare Alley right now, right?
Compare Alley?
Yeah, that's you're going walking down Compare Alley.
I'll move some stuff out of the way, because we had this conversation about what ones I should be doing. So, at the moment, I am editing G440 against the Elite, so Ping G440 against Callaway Elite irons. I'm also doing the Mizuno 243 against the i230. Excuse me, YouTube Winnie Pops. I might have already done that compare. The difference is I haven't done the compare with the heat maps and the new Ways and Wonderful heat maps and stuff. So that's also coming. And then I have got the JPX 923 Tour versus the Pro S3. The old v new. Everyone loves an old v new. So they're the ones I've done, and I am working my way through editing. I'm hoping to try and get, we got one video out already, I'm hoping to get one out tomorrow. When I say hoping, I've had a very interesting day. So it may not be tomorrow, it'll be Wednesday, and if not, then obviously trying to get the next one out for Thursday as well. So I'll try and get 2 more videos done, and they will be the i230 against the Pro 243, and then also the Ping G440 against Callaway Elite irons. The Sunday, I will hopefully get the JPX 923 Tour versus Pro S3, but I'm not quite sure on that one. We have got the ZXi 7 versus 243. Interesting matchup. P790 versus the i530 for heat maps, etc. And then the P790, which is an interesting one, versus the PXG 0317T, one of my favorite irons from PXG. So that is on the list at the moment for the compares. And not to forget, I have the Cobra 3DP Tour iron, which I will do a normal review of, and in the numbers side, I will be putting it up against the Limit 3D. Because these are supposed to be basically exactly the same. And it'll be really interesting to find out how exactly the same it is. There we go. So, there you go.
And I don't know yet.
No, because I haven't even hit them. They're over there. They're over there somewhere. This is the old Limit 3D, which is a really, really good golf club. I mean, this has to be one of the best players' distance irons out there. I would say it is actually the best iron out there if you look for looks and feel. If you put looks and feel into it, I would say this is arguably the best. Performance, forgiveness, consistency, whatever you want to call it, and then looks and feel. And the 3DP looks exactly the same. But I don't really perceive any difference in feel between the two. But it will be interesting to put those two together, and I'll be doing that as a normal part of the numbers side. I'll do the hitting as normal with the 3DP, and when it comes to the numbers, I will put them up against the Limit 3D to see what differences there are. So that's what I've got going for the next couple of weeks. There are other bits and pieces going on in the background, but again, we will cross that bridge. I need to do a putter video at one point. Oh, I am also getting the M-Craft putters, finally. We won't go into what went on with that. But I am getting the ball as well. The new ball is coming. The Pro S and the Pro X is coming. I've got a dozen, literally like a dozen, of the X coming because I don't use the X. And I am getting a supply of the S, which will be the ball that I'll use. I will be doing a test between the old and new ball because we are going to need that information. I'm looking for basically the ball to do exactly the same thing as the old ball, and it's just a durability, etc. difference. If there is a distinct difference, Andy, you and I are going to have to chat.
Yeah.
Don't know how we're going to do it, but we need to have a chat either way. So whether we can do some form of compensatory difference, whether it might just be a case of I have to go out and find as many cases of the RB Tour as I possibly can. I'm not sure yet. We'll find out. We'll find
Lifetime
out.
supply.
Yes. So last one on the list, we have Estinman says WRT 243. I'm assuming that's Pro 243 versus 925 Forged. The radar results show very similar results. Is that your experience? Well, without going too much in detail, obviously because of the radar stuff is website based. Yes and no. So yes, but no, because they are different lofted. The Forged goes further, and with regards to WRT, oh, there we go. See, thanks, Niels. Appreciate that. I'm not down with the kids. So with the, yes, they are very similar, but no, they are different. They are lofted different, and yes, you can do the loft adjust on the 925 Forge over that of the Pro 243 with the help of the self-fit tool with a very wondrous update. Thank you very much, Andy, for that, with the loft adjust, which allows anyone to basically adjust the lofts of any blending set to see how they would work. But I would be surprised if there was much difference. The 243 is a really very good golf club. The 925 Forge really is a very good golf club, and
that brings an interesting point. Like we don't talk about that often. Is how like the shapes of like the forgiveness and the radar charts are across the same brand or the same models. There might be subdivisions of models, but the radar charts will be very similar distribution. So you see the underlying physics that the companies are using to design their irons. You can see that their general CG placements across all their models. They tend to produce very similar radar charts. Because you can compare all the Mizunos right now, they're going to look very similar. There might be different scales, and the distance factor and the space speed might change, but the general patterns are relatively similar. But then you jump to another manufacturer, and instantly it becomes a different shape, and that shows you the underlying physics behind their design.
It's a really interesting thing with the radar chart, the spider graph, whatever you want to call it. I need to remind myself who was the idea on that one. That'll come to me later, I can't remember. But it's a great visual way to see not just the forgiveness side, because that's really handy, but also the flight side as well. So sometimes all the tabular data, the advanced data that you get on the same tier, on the silver tier, you get all the streams of tabular data where you can sort everything from toe forgiveness, heel forgiveness, low forgiveness, forgiveness overall, face speed, launch factor, all these different things that you can actually sort them in to try and narrow down what kind of golf club that would suit you, etc. Definitely. But sometimes, especially when you're trying to compare two irons, it's such a great way of visually seeing how two golf clubs perform, that you don't necessarily see that when you've got a sea of information. So it is quite a handy tool to have. The only thing, I suppose, which was a bit frustrating, because I was trying to do that 921, 923, 925 video, is that you can't compare three in one go, Andy. That's not a request for an update. That's not. No. Dear me. I did well though, getting the overlay of 3 up. Bit of opacity use there. There you go. Right, guys, thank you very much for watching as always. Appreciate all your input. Thanks for listening to me prattle on about my rant. I have many more rants, although they are tamed down now. I've never really been that sort of into swearing that much on camera. There's been times where I've lost my plot a little bit, and Andy's calming presence keeps me centered. Right, guys, Andy, thank you very much, and we'll catch you next week, and thank you for joining us, everybody else. And tomorrow, fingers crossed, a video, if not Wednesday, and it will be the Ping G440 against the Callaway Elite iron. Bye-bye, everyone.
Take care.